meeting. There will be times, if we need to, that we'll have public commentary like we did during some previous ones. All right, with that, tell me when we're ready, Darren.
You ready?
Okay. Good afternoon. So I gave an opening, and I'll just say again, I'm not sure what part of that was covered, but thank you all for being here. We're going to talk a little bit about economic development in our area. And because we had Chris Massengill yesterday talking about it, we thought it was timely. Also, the council had asked me about addressing our own plans. I want to say up front that economic development goes hand in hand with community development, and that they're not the same thing. But they absolutely are sort of hand in glove, and more today, because of the nature of economic development and people searching out places to be, where to locate their assets, where to locate their businesses, where to live, where they want their workers to be. Community development is not only a huge part, it's an absolutely necessary part. It has to be there, and it has to be at a high level. And so with that, we'll kind of talk a little bit up front just to remind everybody of those two terms, what we mean. It doesn't mean you have to agree. Some people would maybe make different definitions, but I would say that in the purest form of economic development, it's about value addedness. So it's about importing dollars into our area that don't exist necessarily. Does that mean that retail expansion is never economic development? Of course not. You want to have retail that has the available things that any community wants, and you want it to be at a high standard, and you want those to be the restaurants and other shopping options. All of that is part of it. But in the truest sense, when some of the economic development items we'll talk about, I'll make sure I try to clarify it. I'll be referring to those things that are value added. So a new business coming in that brings new dollars in the community that did not already exist. Now, what's the difference with that? And I don't always make the retail comparison. Well, if one retail restaurant closes and a comparable similar restaurant either opens or there's two there, then that's sort of the market finding itself. That's not exactly economic development. Those are the same dollars being rearranged. So just because something closes, if something takes its place, or the market determined there were too many of that thing, too many of that widget, whatever, that is sometimes market dynamics. Now, Mr. Massengill yesterday talked about some what he called macro issues, and I think without getting too much into the weeds about that, he was referring to some things may look very local retail, a type of business, et cetera, that may close in a mall or in a shopping center. But those can be subject to things that are happening on a national level. So they could be in a national bankruptcy, happened. They can be in all kinds of issues that lead to them reorganizing their entire structure, pulling out of certain markets. That's all part of a discussion about where your community is in terms of its community development and economic development. I want to make sure that people understand some of the purpose of this. Particularly in election years, there's maybe a desire to make things about report cards, and I think that's good. That's what election years are about. Particularly in election years, those who are for a group or a person or what's happening in one area may have one view, and those who are against that group may have another view. And so the report card can be skewed as to what one particular group thinks is the relevant part of the report card versus another. But really, if you're doing this objectively, there ought to be a set of criteria that exemplify or show or demonstrate where you are as a community that's objective, that can be applied universally, that are standard things to look at. So if we look at those standard things, which we're going to go over today, I'm going to sound a bit cheerleaderish because there's a bunch of good things happening. If you want to call out one that's convenient to be negative, population can be one. I'm going to talk to you about population, what's happening in our state, in our comparable cities. It isn't good anywhere if you look at our comps. But that's not unique to Alexandria. So what that means is we have to fight for our own place in that to not be in the negative side of that, right? Let me say a few things in terms of welcome. First, I want to welcome Mr. Massengill here. Thank you for being here. I want to welcome Linda Anderson here on behalf of LSUA. I'm going to talk a lot about LSUA in a minute. And I want to welcome Deborah Randolph here on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, and appreciate you being here as well. Thank you to the rest of you for being here. I appreciate all of you being here. I see Dr. Lord is here. Thank you so much for being here. I see some of my officials here, and I see at least one council person here. And so thank you so much for that. In my Alexandria, a homegrown bank became a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded institution. In my Alexandria, a really struggling downtown a little over a decade ago came back with the help of entrepreneurs focused on historic preservation, a pretty smart deal on a hotel that was absolutely in disrepair and closing that was brought back into private commerce through a public-private partnership. Now the public side is completely out of the deal, and the Holiday Inn is green flagged over there and rocking and rolling. In my Alexandria, our riverfront has been and is transforming itself from just a levee that protects our homes and property to that same protection offering a world-class recreation venue. In my Alexandria, our downtown is full of institutions leading education, and more on the way, healthcare, and arts opportunities, punching way above the weight of a city our size. In my Alexandria, we are rethinking how retail can be delivered in a modern world and how connections for our community can be more robust and wholesome. I'll talk about that in the Reignite project at the Alexandria Mall. In my Alexandria, we are tackling public safety concerns with best practice and making a real, measurable dent in the bad numbers while increasing the good numbers. In my Alexandria, we are coming together to take on a new and bright future and its challenges going forward with innovation, deliberation, and courage. In our Alexandria, we are not bound by the epidemic of negativity and fear about the future of cities in America with automation and new technology and AI. We are empowered by those challenges, and we will stand up to meet them in partnership. So, how to do that? We have talked a lot about the recreation opportunities here and the hubs of activity that can bring, and we have talked a lot about public safety. I'll go ahead and tell you that I have folks go comb through social media and look for what we think are relevant questions. Sometimes the stuff is tough criticism. Sometimes it's way off. Sometimes it's folks that don't live anywhere near your community and just go around commenting to up whatever point system they can use. But sometimes they're sort of dead on. But you see there's a disconnect in the information that flows. So they're dead on, meaning in one case, there was criticism about why are they trying to rebuild the mall that's already struggling. What they ought to do is turn it into a center for recreation and arts and other activities with healthcare, et cetera. And so when you're in my position, you say, that's what we're doing. How could you're saying what we're doing in the Reignite plan. And then you have to step back and realize, but it's about reaching people, and it's very difficult to do today. Ironically, with this power that we have, there's more information available than ever, and yet because of both the amount of information and the difficulty of you getting your message where you want to be, it could also be more difficult. So we have a few people that commented about what the mall should be, and funnily enough, that's exactly where we want to take it. One of the comments related to that was that really if you just solve crime, that's your front door to everything. Everything else will fall in line. That's a good comment. It's something I say often. It's something Deborah says often. It's something that we all know is true. The metaphor I usually give is if you don't have the front porch, the front door right, you're not going to have visitors, and that's sort of the biggest one. But without being heavily critical, it isn't a perfect statement to say, if crime's resolved, that's all you have to do. It's not a perfect statement at all in our world, Chris. You got a whole other set of quality of life things that you also have to get right. One of them, without question, we'll get into arts and all those things, the things you traditionally think of as quality of life, things to do, we'll call it. Fund dollars being spent, we could call it. But one of the main ones is education. And so when people are looking at an area, they're going to look at that. So crime, absolutely a big one. Educational attainment and what is offered there is going to be huge. If the family's moving, they want to know that all of that works from baby to college. They want to know it works. And if you look at the changes here and what's happening in education, it's positive. We're moving places in education. Really, the attainment is so much better than in this decade than it has been in a long time. And we have a standout, not just in what's happening at the Rapides Parish School Board level. And Chris, forgive me, I won't be focusing on 10 parishes. I'll be focusing on one. But what we have in Rapides is really extraordinary, what's happening. But we do have a stellar standout. We do have a group that's really knocking it out the park. And I can see her over there smirking. She knows what's about to be said. But LSUA is really knocking it out the park. So not only from a leadership standpoint, but just go by numbers. Look at what is happening there. That's what you need to see to not only build pride in the community, but to partner with and figure out new innovation. LSUA can offer new partnerships in science and technology, engineering, math, all of those things where we need to be, and then some. Also in quality of life, things to do, building around them and them building around us. They made that commitment in downtown. CLTCC, the same thing. Doing big things, offering big opportunities. And I focus on my public institutions. I feel like that's always been what I'm supposed to do. But fortunately or unfortunately, depends on how you look at it. Fortunately, I'm getting to know this new president over at LCU, and I gotta say, he's a stellar guy too, and he is a standout. And there's only opportunity for more partnerships with this guy. He is unbelievable. He spoke at our Martin Luther King event the other day and blew everybody away. Not just the resume's great, but he's real easy to talk to, and he's real easy to get excited about in what they have over there. Always been a standout school, so only good things can come from that too. What we know from our data about our healthcare prominence is a mixed bag. We still clearly will show that the data suggests that's not only something we have to be concerned about, it's where we need to double and triple down. I'm going to give y'all some numbers today. I still will go through the vetting process of confirming every number. I will try to hedge for myself, like, look, I think this one's dead on, but I'm still looking at it. So some of these I might give a little bit of pushback because I want it multi-sourced. But I think in using a pretty good group, I checked it with Chris too, we both agree they're good. About 40% of jobs in the region that I'm talking about are going to be healthcare and government related. That's a good thing, depending on, you know, some people might look at that and say, listen, you're saying government jobs, but that's not private. So those are government dollars. Government isn't really private sector. I'd love to see that be different because I don't want government overpronounced. I want it all private sector. And then I would say that let me say this. Government jobs, where you have a government center, the county seat, the parish seat for us, government jobs matter. Government jobs typically have some level of protection, whether it be civil service so there's a predictability to government jobs. Banks like that because there's a predictability that you're not just hire and fire at will. There's some predictability that you can go get that loan and you're going to have a certain level of moving up if you're doing the right thing, getting it right. Also, I have done a few not extensive, but pretty good dashboard interviews with people that are running our, I'll call them two of what I would consider and think to be the largest investment groups in our area. they're going gangbusters. If you want to ask Greg O'Quinn or the guys you want to ask Jeff Drawn and them, the two big competitors that are doing it, it's a lot of blue collar and government retirements that are there, and it's huge numbers. I won't say which is bigger out of the two, not my place to say. I think they both would lay some claims to things, but we were talking about billions of dollars. And so I don't want to ever downplay government jobs and what that can mean here and how much money's being deployed. But the healthcare part, I do need to focus on. And I said earlier that it's mixed for me. And the reason I would think it's mixed, and not everybody, again, has to agree. Other people may have different feelings about this. My concern is that I would say it happened during COVID, but it's not fully about COVID, but telemedicine, the location of some of the assets we were competitive on moving to Lafayette and other places, healthcare consolidation, all that buildup of COVID money for rural stuff that then went out, Medicaid expansion and then changes. All of those things have sort of coalesced into, I would call, some concerns about that. So I would say where we had this huge competitive advantage in healthcare. So when I was growing up, you could be 6 deep on any level of specialty. So exotic medicine folks, like anything, immunology, anywhere you needed to be, we would be several deep into that. Some benchmarks you might look at would be like urologists. If you start losing those kind of things, if you're down to 3 and 4 of those guys, that starts to tell you, hey, that's kind of a little bit of a red flag. So I look for those things, and I would tell you, we still own a competitive advantage, but we've got a lot of work to do to keep it and expand it. That would be the point. Keep it and expand it. How? Well, Allied Health's a big help to that. So I was talking about docs, but it isn't just about docs. And we know that the delivery of medicine is changing with AI and other things. We know that nurse practitioners have really ascended in markets. We know all of those things matter. Docs don't always like that, but that's the case. It's a different world. So, not so circuitously, back to the point of Melinda. What LSUA is doing with Allied Health downtown is huge. It's a dearth we saw, meaning there was a gap we needed to fill, and we are doing that. So this is the community answering those things. These are the things that matter that are coming together. So healthcare prominence matters, and that would be my first big point after education is we've got to focus on the healthcare prominence in this area as the city economic development plan. We called it our Allied Health Initiative, and the first big one was $3 million to LSUA, but there's more. I also think that we have a strong opportunity in our quality of life with faith-based institutions and what they can bring. We have the ability to, we have probably more churches than anywhere per capita, and we have the ability to bring those folks together and do some things. Stacy, some of the initiatives we want to do with Nehemiah focus on that. And I don't want to underplay that. It matters. It isn't about just getting some pastors in a room so everybody can get credit for some little project that you do once a year and it goes away. It's about building the connective tissue in the community so that when serious stuff happens, we're together. And when things are going right, we're pushing the envelope. We're pushing for more achievement, pushing to be more connected. Strong people in retail. So sort of the pulse of this city and this region, Pineville and Alexandria, I think everybody always challenges you. What is it that makes you unique? I've always said it's our people. They can be tough. It can be a tough parish politically. It can be a tough parish business-wise. And I think we can be hard on each other locally. And I know all of you know what I'm talking about in the room. Start a business in Lafayette, you get a shot, you're going to get your 2 years, sort of. It can be tough here. But that same toughness of people is also what makes us successful. It's made this city and community last through the toughest of times. And it's made our waxed wanes, instead of being like this, sort of like that. And that can get you frustrated when you want to see big growth, but it also sustains you in the moments where other communities go through the huge wanes. And so I want to remind people that In our Alexandria, we're a tough people that can together do extraordinary things, and we have had extraordinary people born here, live here, leave here, and come back here to make this community great. I started off with, in my Alexandria, a homegrown bank became a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded institution. We all know what bank that is. But we've been a bankers community a long time, with a lot of banks started and transformed and moved on and come back and done a lot of things here. I only use that bank as an exemplar because it is. It is. The excellence is there from top to bottom, and it offers a lot of opportunities. Right now, out on Versailles, there's a $40 million project being built. We'll go cut a ribbon, I think, tomorrow. There's two more coming that size right now, and they're going to not all be located there. Two are going to be in that area, but there's a lot of opportunities in healthcare to keep building around this, and I hope that some of Reignite will help us do that. A couple other things people may not know, because we've lost our focus. Chris talked about it yesterday, that he's going to fight doggedly to tell a different story. And some of it gets to be easier. We were voted 7th of 10th in the South and 17th best retirement city out of 50, Travel and Leisure, March 2025. Everyone knows the hunting, fishing, and all the opportunities around here that need to be better capitalized. You talk about community development. Those are opportunities for us. Voted 10th of 30 top places to live in Louisiana, and then for affordability, that category placed third in cost of living among 883 places evaluated. That's Money Inc., May 2025. Those are real opportunities that we have talked about for years, trying to parlay into more. That's someone else's view of you. That isn't a mayor or the chamber or someone telling everybody, hey, look at this, or trying to fake some stats or put something out. Those are people from outside of you viewing you and saying what they think you're about. Yes, they get data from here, but that's what they're plugging in, and that's what they feel about the community. Those are positive things to look at. In community services, we've restored our vets to their prominence. Those are, again, signature things for us to do together. It shouldn't matter. We should all be for those successes, for the River Fet and the Winter Fet. When they're successful, we shouldn't just talk a little bit about it. We should all be programming other things around them, getting into that brand. We were just a few years ago, got a little lost. I think we've got it back on track. So let's triple down on that. The capital projects and economic outlook for that, I talked about the three major skilled care and nursing home expansions. I will go through some other things that are great indicators. Sales tax are a good indicator. Those have been up for the parish. The city was flat. We're waiting to get our February numbers will be for the last quarter. The city was up, up, up. It had some flatness this year. I just heard a report on nationally for that same period. I think we're right in line. I will tell you, the city reports late. We're going to report. We'll know after what the Christmas season was. I don't have those numbers yet, or I'd give them. But Trey, they should come along any day now, right? And we'll know that. The nature of retail changes some, so it's not an abnormal thing in the urbanized area to not have the same things because of how we order and get services as other areas. We're excited that the whole parish is up. I wish it would be up more. But if you look at us over the last few years, our sales tax, those aren't in a bad place. In my view, again, I said we kind of do this and haven't had wax and wanes. When I see 2 to 4% growth, David, a year, that's been the Alexandria story. Again, you'd love to see 10 or 20% year. Lafayette's seen those, but they've also seen the troughs from the markets falling out. So this oscillation that we would do made us predictable, but the incline, the slope, if you will, was always up, and it is and remains that way today. That lets you predict if you go out for a bond, if you're borrowing and other things. Those are positive things for cities. That's what you want to see as a financial outlook for cities. Let me give you some others. Permits, housing, development projects, all up in the city. I don't have all the parish data, but all up in the city. Utility usage, we have data on that, all going in the right direction. Car sales and car expansion projects. So this is one that I look at a lot as a local, as a mayor. So I'm not, state level and others, they look at it differently. For mayors, that's an old trick. You want to see what they're doing. If you see Walker expanding, building new facility, expanding out, adding a new brand to sell, et cetera, hugely great indicators. Car guys at that level, they don't like to get that wrong. They can't get it wrong. It's how it works for them. So when you see that, those are good signs. I've spent time talking with them. Their outlook is positive, and so is ours, but that's a good one. Healthcare expansion, I talked about earlier. We'll talk some more as we break these down in future ones, but I wanted to give y'all a big overview today. We can have some more surgical ones later to carry the metaphor a little bit forward. Annexation, expansion requests. So we get a ton of these. Y'all didn't get the surgical joke. That means y'all are getting sleepy. Annexation and requests for annexation, et cetera, all going well. I need to remind you, people may ask us to annex areas in. So that could immediately change your population tomorrow, right? And then you could report population increase of whatever. But is that honest? If they're already right there, is that really expansion? Most mayors would say, yeah, and tell me why would you say what you're about to say, but that's not how I'll look at it. I'll look at it if they're already there, captured right next to Alexandria. That's not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is if I annex them in to push up the Alexandria proper number, and I'm taking in an area that has horrible infrastructure challenges when we're already infrastructure challenged, I have to weigh that as a mayor. Is that responsible? To pump up a number, but to take on new capital costs, so that's going to be recurring expenses matched against revenue that is not exceeding at the same level as the expense. That's not a smart move. So that could correct something as a gimmick right away. But gimmicks, that's not where it's at, folks. So that's something I'm going to be careful about. But it is relevant that you get requested. It is relevant that in addition to annexation requests, there are also new developments in those areas, meaning new housing stock being added, whether you want them in the city or not, whether the type of the housing stock. We had one national company, it gets a bad rap there. We just expanded at Northport a bunch of houses there and approved it at standards that we feel very comfortable with. But we won't always do that. It depends. It may be the parish is okay and we're not. But if it's happening right next to Alexandria, that is some good sign of growth. So we look at those. New market price apartment requests, up. That's a good sign. That's in the city. So I had to say the note is on the hunt for large projects, and since I'd written that note a while back because I knew some things that we were working on. So I told Chris yesterday, I would say we're not just on the hunt. We're not just in the hunt. We have closed in on the prey, and we're, the way that you lose these is now beyond we're past all the point of the diligence about whether this is the right community or that. We're past even diligence on property purchases and all that. We're in the level of diligence where it's about some really hyper-scale deals, and that's just a fancy way of saying those big guys at the very top, and they got to make decisions about where they want to be. You saw some things that happened in North Louisiana. I will just say, if you want to call in the hunt, on the hunt, in the hunt, and right in there circling the prey, it's that kind of thing that we're circling. We have those opportunities. We have land for it. We have unbelievable infrastructure and resources. We ought to do it. So now it's about, can we as a community, with the connective tissue we have, go out and show that we're together and get these things? It's ours to lose now. It's ours to lose now. And it's not just one, it's more than one. But these are our opportunities. There's some big ones, and there's a lot of hard work that goes into getting those. And there can be also environmental concerns about different types of projects. The thing I'm talking about does not have those concerns. I know there are others that people are concerned about, and we'll talk about some of that at another briefing, whether it's about carbon sequestration and other things. Those are all very relevant concerns for cities. I see some faces wince like, oh, don't talk about that. And I know Cornelius wants me to. So here's the thing. We will. It's not for today, but that's not the project I was talking about just now. So that should be a good thing, because it's just not on tap for today to worry about. Utilities, which we'll spend a little time on. When I came in, I feel like it's the wrong word. I won't say I feel like. It was, without doubt, from a mathematical standpoint, in an existential crisis. And there has been about a $25 to $28 million swing for the better due to the changes that we made as managers. That's not raising a single rate anything, not one bit. And all of this is independently audited and backed up, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I want to tell you where I'm going ahead. Stop bashing the utility. It's your biggest asset. I went over with Chris yesterday some things that I don't think he knew yet about the community, about how it can be used here. He was like, Jacques, that's a massive opportunity. So, don't know, I'm fond of acronyms. I think that there's some opportunities. I used to call it like a utility TIF. Everyone knows that a TIF is tax increment financing, but we have some opportunities with our utility that could really be used to attract business. I'm going to come to that in a minute. I'm going to give you the acronym when we get there. But I want you to think about how we can use a utility for our benefit. This is an absolutely essential weapon in your arsenal to help us overcome economic challenges. And we are really, really doing this wrong by continuing to just beat this drum. I'm not saying it's you in the room of it's high utility rates. You haven't changed your electric utility rate by an increase since 1986. So all of you who say they're high, if you think about it, you haven't changed it since 86. You can go look at everyone else's rates compared to ours. Bring your receipts. Bring your receipts. If you're in the media and you say they're high utility rates, you know right now, you've had 3 years of me saying it, and you've had it forever before, you know it isn't true, and you hadn't brought a receipt yet. So when are we getting that first receipt that the utility rates in Alexandria are high? When's it coming? When can you not be able to say something that's a bald-faced lie? You can't bring the receipt. And you can't compare two bills, which I've done live on here using my own bill and another, and say it either. And you can't do it with water, and you can't do it with gas. These are an opportunity for us. The truth is, the utility can have problems a different way when you have 1986 rates. But it isn't because you have a high rate. All right. So let's get back a little more on track. I want to talk about the Reignite project and some other things. But I hope that some of that about my Alexandria and yours, our Alexandria, matters to you. There's some real opportunities here. And it doesn't help to just go through a report card, which I have, and I've done before, about all the things that we've accomplished. I'm trying to pick out things where it may not be an accomplishment yet. It may be an opportunity and a threat. And all of y'all in this room, I know you're all SWAT people. You know that. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Your strengths and weaknesses are your internal looks. Your opportunities and threats are external. And in my life, and I bet in yours, I bet on Melinda's team, every time you see a threat, that's an opportunity that just needs its tail turned around. And it's almost always the case. Not always, but almost. So when you identify that threat, you can usually spin that one. And that's what we have to get better at as a team. All of you in here are in economic development. We've got to get better about that as a team. So, I want to go over a couple of little more performance indicators just to get y'all fired up about kind of where we are on some of those. I gave you some data earlier, but here's some other ones. I'm going to give you 23, 24, 25, and 26. From 23 to 24, single-family residences doubled. 64 units, MacArthur Place apartments, were put on in 24 to come. In 25, 46 at River Ranch duplexes. I won't list the community homes, but there was a one community home, 7 beds. I won't count that as development. Belgrand Nursing Home, 139 beds. That's 139 residences. 2026, you'll see North Bolton, the phase that I think the council may just have approved this past meeting, right? That's 50 residential lots. Bayou Rapides Community Nursing Home, that's 154 more beds. These are nice places to live. You're going to see that tomorrow at the Bell. Bellawood, 26 units, duplexes at phase 2. That's right there, Jackson, behind the Walmart there. Magnolia Trace Townhomes on Ansley, 112 in 2 phases, and also the second home that's coming on Versailles, 126. So those are some big developments in residential permits being pulled. So again, another indicator we look at of whether you're growing or not are those residential permits. Okay. So I said earlier about healthcare, kind of some of the things to look at. I called Ralph Hennessy just before the meeting, and I had talked before to some folks. This one's you got to be a little more careful. So this is when I'm giving you an admonition up front, Jerry, everybody. I think this data is going to be right, but I'm still working through it. And if someone corrects me, you're welcome to correct me. I asked him straight up what I know the answer to, because if you've flown recently, you're going to know it. But are commercial flights up or down? And they're, of course, up. There's a lot of folks on commercial flights, and I know, I don't want to be political. I know that someone could jump out and go, well, maybe it's all ice or whatever. No, these are contractors coming in doing a lot of things. I see them on the flights. That's a good sign. These are full flights again, a lot of military guys like we used to have. I know y'all know that United will be online to book in May. You can book now, by the way, but they'll be online in May. That 37-minute flight to Houston, a lot of people love that one. But the real thing for me is, again, I look for these weird little things that are kind of telltale signs. And I told you one of my secret ones was talking to the car folks. Another secret one is talking to the fixed base operator, talking to Millionaire, finding out what those private flights are looking like. Now, maybe not all of us can afford to take a jet and do whatever we want like some of those guys, but you sure do want them coming into your community, right? It's an indicator of growth. It's an indicator of vitality. It's an indicator of people spending money. And after all, that's how we grow the community, from those opportunities, from them scouting and hunting things. So the first thing I asked Ralph is, look, again, without getting political, I can't count ICE flights because that's a government choice about things. That is not whether you want them here or not. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying I can't count them because it doesn't give me math for development because they're doing a single job in and out. So tell me how the FBO is doing minus that. I'm going to have that data soon. Some of you may already know it, but I was assured it's still up. So even if you minus that out, it's up with other development here that are doing other things. I want to dig a little more into that, so I'm reserving my rights on that one. But if that is significant, that's an interesting other indicator for you to look at and be positive about. Household income. Our preliminary data is it's up over this 5-year period, and it's up double digits. The number I was given was high enough where I won't give it today because I get suspicious of it being that high. So I want to dig in a little more, but double digits is always a material measurement. Educational attainment is up. So while we face as a community what everybody's facing in Louisiana, unfortunately, or most, in population challenge, the two items that I would like to see moving in educational attainment, and it's up. That's a big one that we've got to really work together on. This opportunity with LSUA, all of that, it's not a time to see that project happen and go, okay, click, check that box, we're doing that. It's a time to double down with them too. So Paul and his group announced some things. We had a conflict on our schedule with the lieutenant governor here, so it all got messed up. I didn't get to hear what their plan was into the future in person, but I would just say that everybody needs to get in with them on that plan, and they need to think about how we can help them achieve more than, I promise you, they'll be shooting for the stars, but we need to help them do that better. And LCU too. Those are going to be big opportunities for us. So let me talk a little bit about Grow with Alexandria too. We have a website up, Grow with Alexandria. I would encourage people to go look. There's a lot of data in it, and we're about to do a revision of that with more data. That's going to be something important that I think will give people some real-time dashboard information about the community, where things are, and where we want to go. So please pay attention to that, because Grow with Alexandria will not just be informational. It's going to be, ultimately, I put out a job spec for it. We have not filled it. I still want to fill it. It's still exactly what it is. I want to get people, there are people very interested in this job all over, and it's not filled. We're trying to think of how to fold that into some things, quite frankly. I was waiting for Chris to get his feet settled to think about his own team, where things are. Chris has 9 to 10 parishes that he's going to be dealing with. He has assured me that the two cities, the heart of that, the biggest economic heart of it, will be a big focus. I did express and have expressed to him, and probably over dinner will express more, my desire that there be bigger focus on the urbanized areas, and that we feel a little neglected over time. That's all a good thing. Those are great conversations to have. But I do want to stress that we have in this guy a world-class economic developer. So again, it's ours to lose. We got a leader of this team. We have all of these assets in place. Focus on healthcare a lot, and focus on education, and we're going to be able to move some things. I have not mentioned yet the biggest, if you will, cluster industry in our area, and that is Royal Martin as an entity, and that is wood and wood-related products as a cluster. And we have to figure out every way we can to see them continue to innovate and be the great leader that they are. And I can assure you they're always thinking of new things to do and new ways to innovate in that area. And those are things to support. As a community, we can never be about, well, look at all of that. They're doing their thing. Let's not worry about that. We have to figure out how to wrap around those things and make them do better. They're after all creating a massive amount of jobs in our region. And I can assure you, while Roy may be retired, he's thinking about new things that he wants to do and other offshoots of that I've heard and will not betray, but would say to you, it's smart and it's exactly what we need to be thinking about. And I hope that he continues to do that. I also would be remiss when we talk about the community development side if I didn't say this. I find him personally and his crew to be in a particularly philanthropic phase in life, philanthropic commitment in life. And I see those commitments all over, from the Compton Park additions to other things. And those are advantages to take right now. If someone's feeling like giving, we need to be feeling like receiving, and we need to figure out how to do that in the best way possible that moves our community together. We have had, Deborah, in the past, families of philanthropy, and they have felt some sort of charge as community folks to do big things. A lot of the growth in West Alexandria was a direct benefit of exactly that. All communities have to grow those opportunities in their communities. You can either look at that with jealousy of where folks are, or you can look at that as how do I reach and grab those opportunities and have those people reinvest and figure out ways to help everybody, to help the sea rise for all. We need to develop that. That's part of Nehemiah, Stacy. That's part of all these other things in community development. Now, let's switch to community development. So, working some big opportunities in economic development, community development, which we've talked about throughout all this, but let's be more direct. We have to have the things to do, the places to go, the retail, the restaurant scene, and all of that to be attractive. And so I started with my mall folks. I think this was on UrbanCast's placing of this agenda up. And we don't always do this, but I did it a few years back. I'll do it today. A couple of the names that I was given were David Duplichan and Cindy Nichols. We're having a discussion about this mall thing. And so what I want to tell those two folks is, not only do I hear you, you're right. That's what we're saying to do. The mall is not going to ever be the retail thing that any of y'all grew up in here what it did. And so they're right about that. And they're also right that what it could be, because I think what they put up is, look at this facility they're building, and they named a city in Louisiana and said, look at this facility. That's what ought to be in the mall. That's what's going in the mall. That's what we want to incentivize these guys to do. Exactly what was reported in that social media thread. Masonic Drive is a retail hub for the whole Alexandria MSA, and at one time, it sort of was the hub. So, and Jerry, a long, long time ago, it would have been Bolton Avenue, and really, these two streets. And as cities move, they get past MacArthur, they move, demographics change, all kinds of things can go positive and negative. But a lot of times in a city's life cycle, there's a lot of negative that goes with it, and we know that, a lot of negative. And so there are opportunities to make strikes against those things, and I think that we have to be about that. The thing about Masonic Drive, it's like a suture line, if you will. It's our healthcare hub, it's a recreation, it joins, suture line, it stitches together the most districts and the most diversity in the city in every way. Monetarily, demographically, recreation assets, healthcare assets, pure retail, et cetera. If you go around North Mall, if you count that whole thing, there's a ton of growth there. I hear all kinds of things. Are they going to get another Mexican restaurant? I don't determine restaurants, guys, and mayors shouldn't. Restaurants are found by markets. If there's another Mexican restaurant because enough people want another one, then you're going to have another one. Nothing wrong with that. But I will read that from time to time. It's not a they. That's not a they thing. I also read they're going to have another hotel built. How can they need that? That's the last thing we would need. Not true. Thank you, Chris. I got an expert now. It doesn't have to be me anymore. I got the expert in the room. Not true. If the market, Hampton or anyone else, says there's a market for more hotel rooms, guess what you need? You need more hotel rooms. No one, I said car people. You know who trumps car people in terms of doing their due diligence? Hotel people. They don't want to get it wrong because they can't. We are sitting on, I think, give a little hedge, Jerry, I'll keep picking on you, but if I'm giving a stat, I'm not 100%, I'm just going to say little hedge on this one, but pretty sure, 61% occupancy rate for our area. So 61%, that's unbelievably good. So if people want 100 more beds on top of that, Chris, is that a good sign or a bad sign?
You're still making money.
Yeah, that's a great sign. And if it's over 100 more keys wanted, that's even better. Let's put 61% in perspective. The national average that includes all giant markets, the big boys and girls, is 62. So we're right there in that. So cars and that, two huge indicators that when you hear dying and non-growth and all that, can't be true. Airport, all of these things can't be true. When you see a retail change of this Italian restaurant closes and this one opens, the net result is that's not really what you look at for your true economic indicators. The ones I'm giving you are objectively. Now, if you just lost a whole series of things where people don't have those options, I started off with that. That can be not a good thing, and to me. Back to the mall. But the mall as a retail center is not going to be that anywhere. That's not a Jacques Roy or a Jim Villard or anybody in this room's choice. That's how you shop today and what you do. But Chris said something super interesting yesterday that I don't know if everyone caught. That we've moved off bricks and mortar. That's another reason you're going to see retail shut down. So when someone says this such and such is closing, it could be just because their whole bricks and mortar model is changing. This rural healthcare clinic closed. It could be like it was because it's not that they overbuilt. They had a ton of money coming in during COVID, Medicaid expansion, all that. They built up to that. If their waiting rooms aren't full, that's their market, by the way, unfortunately, sick folks. And if they don't need it, then they're not going to keep that bricks and mortar. They just go to another spot, double it up. That's not an indicator of bad. That's an indicator of market. So Chris said yesterday, you're going to see some movement back to some bricks and mortar for certain things. This is where we are on this omni-channel shopping that I keep talking about. That's the opportunity for this mall. To have a real place where this suture line in our city joins all of these areas where live, work, and play. I had a strong feeling about it. It's not something that's magical to me. It's data that we've collected for years. That's why I felt that Reignite Corridor was right. My team felt it was right. We had data that was piecemealed from everywhere. Now we have the data specifically seeking that, and it all bears out. So I think that we're going to have a real opportunity there. So what is Reignite? Without extraordinary intervention, that Masonic corridor is at risk. It's bleeding out housing and it's bleeding out opportunities. Are there some positives? Yeah, the docs just built a big surgical hospital right behind where another one was. But their other surgical hospital is closed and it's now, they can rent it, they can offer it for whatever. But the missed opportunity was we were circling a real opportunity to have them anchor a building in the mall to be that first one. Couldn't make that happen in time. We're dealing with a tough group at the Ball Not the Ball folks, one of the owners. I won't name the name. Sears. And we've got to work on that. But that opportunity was missed because of that, and now we have that. So you have one new building being built. That's a good sign. But there's plenty of opportunities there. But that corridor is at risk right now. But if we intervene now, Deborah, we can make that corridor into something spectacular. The location of healthcare, recreation, quality of life that surrounds the mall on all sides is tremendous. The opportunity for workforce housing, Kay, your thing to champion, hers, located in proximity to Cabrini and other opportunities there is tremendous. There's an area behind Target, which would be a tremendous location for higher end housing. There's locations all around that area. The retail shopping we grew up knowing is gone, but there's a ton of new opportunities for the mall about that. I would also say, though, it's got to be about that experiential mall, all experience driven. Again, I'm going to address some comments that I get that I want you in the room to hear so you can help me cheer our city. 4:30. Why wouldn't we just spend this money on more officers? Why wouldn't we just spend the money we're talking about for Reignite on police officers? I get a lot of those comments. Anybody want to answer? Well, that's...
We can't hire them.
So that you said the same thing as Jim. You're having trouble hiring them. It's a little bit easier answer than that. Thank you. Smart Princeton guy got it right. You can't spend capital dollars that we would spend in Reignite on operating money. Sorry. You can't spend the money that we would spend for Reignite on hiring people because the money by vote of the people is restricted to spending on capital, bricks and mortar, those kind of big things. There's a reason people vote for that. Because then those guys would all go march around the city and make all their, just kidding. There's a reason for that. It's because in good practice, you need to separate operating and those capital dollars. You always have to be putting out for a forward thought. If you're in private business, you can't only be thinking about your rolling stock, your trucks and your employees and their fringe benefits. You have to be thinking about when this building goes bad, how are we going to build the next one? If you're at Royal Martin, you got to be thinking about all the infrastructure that makes all that come true. Yes, it takes people, but it also takes infrastructure. The infrastructure is restricted by law, so you can't spend it on officers. Why wouldn't we just spend the money on drainage and roads or other hard infrastructure? Now, we're talking about capital for capital. You could make that choice. So we can. The answer is we can do that. And when we don't reinvest in creating new sales taxes by doing things like Reignite, we would run out of money to repair that same infrastructure. Right? If you just spent it all on that and you didn't grow your sales tax base and you didn't do anything to increase capacity in the area, you would soon have increasing expenditures on capital with either flat or decreasing revenue matched against it. Mr. Crutchfield used to say is one big thing you got to know in accounting, you can't match increasing expenses with decreasing revenue. It'll never work. So that wouldn't work. So the art is in the balance. The art is in the balance. That's these guys. They make the mayor the bad guy for everything. There's 7 folks right there that make that determination. You have to have a balance on the council to do that. How can you do this without new taxes? Well, the way I'll propose to do it is even in the current situation where those spark bonds roll off, you could do this without a change to your note on the car. And so you would do it by a bond. What is the total Reignite budget? The budget for Reignite is 45 to 52 million local, 30 million in matches and private money. We think it's about an 80 to $100 million project, but we're listing on the books as 82. What is the difference between Reignite and other capital programs? Great question. So the difference is that with Reignite and that designation, you're going to have the full force of all the people in the city focused on that. So they're looking for the matches. The things Reignite does gets matches, meaning the government already has programs for this type of work. We build that project in some ways around that, knowing that those matches come. The other idea of Reignite is you get someone to run the project like CSRS, whom we've hired, that is at a scale, so there's some scalability there, that can push multiple projects at one time. So you get the benefit of a big push. What does that do for people? Is it gimmicky? Somebody could say it is. I can tell you this. It sure does tell investors and other people, if you want to say that's a gimmick, it's a damn good one to use. We're serious about investing in our community. We're going to invest in our community. So should you. Because thank you. Because the first thing an investor says, if you're not investing in your own community, is why would I invest in your community if you're not willing to invest in your community? If you're in a startup business and you go talk to venture capitalists and 3 of you joined and formed your LLC yesterday and you're all shiny and happy about your idea, and they say, how much money have y'all put in? Oh, we're not putting any of our own money in it. We just think it's a good idea, but will you put yours there? You might get some pushback in that first meeting with, man, you don't have any risk in this. All you did was pay $50 to the Secretary of State in Louisiana and have a name of an LLC. Where's your risk? So we've got to show that we're willing to stand by our community, and that's what Reignite does. It tells the world that we're standing behind it. We have a lot of that published. We'll do some more to publish that. Listen. Location, location, location. We've got opportunities here more than ever where we're close to a lot of different areas that really we can make some things happen. And I think it's important. Deborah and I used to laugh about this. Everybody was always saying, you're in the center of the state. You ought to do whatever. And man, there's a lot of truth to that. But then there's also, because of the way market shift and technology is what it is, well, so what? It's not enough to just be in the middle. It's also nice to have a beach. It's also nice to have a giant port. Those things aren't in the middle of the state, but they also are subject to some hurricane damage. And they're also subject to insurance policy rates that are high. There's a lot of challenges there that we don't have. So right now is a very good time for us to push those things. So LSUA, CLTCC, hospitals and healthcare, those things I think are the both community development and economic development things we need to focus on. We need to build and maintain a local pride program that reflects the values here. Chris talked about that yesterday. This tearing down that we're doing to ourselves it's not unique, but in a comparative sense, I sure haven't seen it growing up as a mayor or anywhere else in even cities around Louisiana. I sure do see, even in Monroe, with lots of sort of mirror image numbers to us, I don't see them tear down their area the way I think that we do here. And we've got to be our best cheerleader, because after all, no one else will if you're not willing to do it. I brought population numbers to you guys because I just want to put an end to this. I know that'll be the new thing. It's political season, so, okay. If crime rates are going the right direction, you've got development, y'all are working hard, you've moved the utility into better practice, all these things are happening. What about population? I hate to tell you guys, but if you look at 30 of the largest cities and all the MSAs in the state, 18 of them lost population from 2020 to 24. I'm not happy about that. That's my whole state. And I know that the governor lately has shown, we had a moment of there's been some good things happening, but I will just tell you, Louisiana is not over the hump of its challenge in population loss. We're just not by a long shot. We've got structural issues in the Constitution on financing and other things that we can keep throwing out what we're doing right. They're just going to be some obstacles. Now, I think Susan Bourgeois and those guys are doing a tremendous job, and I think it's going to go a long way. But some of our population issues, Melinda, are challenges in health. We're unhealthy, it's educational attainment, it's poverty. Those things are going to continue to haunt us if we don't make some changes. I've looked at 2010 to 2020, 2020 to 24, and 2010 to 24, the overall. Now, I don't know if you guys have looked at that, but there's more minuses than not in this list. And the idea that, oh, well, this city next to you is growing, it's not. I don't want to name any of the sister cities around us by name because they'll think I'm picking, but there's minuses by everybody. And our parish is not picked to do well. As Chris said, quit saying that. I said, I'm the cheerleader. I hardly ever say it. But he called me yesterday saying it. He said, that's only true if we don't make the interventions. And that is the way to say it. But our parish is not predicted to do well in our MSA if we don't make the interventions. It's not an Ellick thing. It's a all of us thing in this region. So I'm getting well beyond Alexandria. But we certainly aren't the biggest loser in this. We keep getting compared to Shreveport, not sure why because of the size difference, but Shreveport over 2010 to 24 is a minus 12%. Baton Rouge a minus 4. New Iberia was a minus 12. Natchitoches a minus 7. I mean, there are cities and towns that you think, oh, everything. Louisiana is challenged in this. We're going to have to do some things different. I'd love to tell you it's just some leave in one area to get in the surrounding area, but that's not necessarily the case. Again, we could do some gimmicky things and change the Alexandria proper population tomorrow, but it would be just that. We got harder work than that. We've got to create a quality of life and a connectedness, if you will, with education and those partners like we never have. And here's the truth. This is a good thing. It's going to sound negative. It's not. Like we never have, meaning because we never have. That's the negative. Because we never have had it. We have that opportunity with LSU and LCU right now and the community college. These opportunities that we didn't have. So shame on us if we don't take advantage of them because we didn't have it. And I blame some of that on our delegations in the past. Central Louisiana always seemed to get left behind, Chris. You're going to hear that a lot from your partners in this room. And they're going to be able to tell you a lot of stories that prove it. I'm telling you it's absolutely true. Every time something was up to be here or somewhere else, it didn't come here. And I don't know, there's no one to blame. It's just we didn't do, whatever it was it took to get it, we didn't get it. We can't be that anymore. So, trends, challenges, opportunities, clear capture of opportunities in health and recreation. We need these data connectors. I didn't say data center. But we need data connectors. That's going to be big. The vacancy rates in that Masonic corridor are a great opportunity. So the threat is we're losing housing in that area. The opportunity is this is the opportunity in Reignite to put that in place. We're missing a ton of fund dollars, guys. I'm going to close on that because I think quality of life is important to close on here. We're missing capturing fund dollars. So if you think about the casinos in Kinder and Marksville, if you think of those as part of those fund dollars, that's why an experiential mall makes so much sense, is to recapture those dollars that people spend on pure enjoyment stuff in their life. The leisure time, the time to get over the toughness at work and in other parts of our lives. So we're giving up an opportunity for that. And I think we're giving up about half of where we could be, 19% to 34%. The peer average is around 30. We're at around 19%. That tells you a whole lot about what we think is missing. We need to capture that. And I think that not just Reignite, but Chris, as we talked about, we've got to create the opportunities that people say, I want to invest. I'm going to open a place downtown. I'm going to do this. I'm going to find out that the crime rate downtown, what a ridiculous notion that that's the problem. It's about taking some of those risks that I think that we're going to have to do. I said I'd give you an acronym. It's RIF. So not TIF. Rate Increment Financing. I started this during SPARK. And it was based, I had y'all pass an ordinance with a built-in cooperative endeavor, so it's a no-brainer. If you have a certain CapEx, capital expenditure, or population of employees that you're going to bring new, or a combination, you could get, we didn't call it a RIF then, but you could get a fuel cost only plus, and over a 7-year or 5-year worked-out period, you would go from paying a cost amount that's mostly related to the commodity part, the fuel part, and your rate would be zero, and you would build up, Deborah, over time to a normal commercial rate to attract someone to be here. How many people you think can do that in the state that have a muni that can do that? So with this, we would be able to do that, and I would like to increase two things and get the council to do it. So I wish more of you guys were here. I was asked to do the economic development report. I want it to be taken a little more seriously, but that could be structured with, I think healthcare businesses should get it any size. So instead of making it CapEx driven and new employee only driven like it was, how much money you're spending on bricks and mortar or how many employees, if you're in healthcare, you get it. If you're tech, you get it, no matter what size. Tech companies aren't going to always be big, right? 2 or 3 people can have a great innovation, and it doesn't, we want them. So what do they have to do? They have to fulfill some goals we have. Either locate somewhere that you would like to see them be or some other goal, they get it. It's sunsets. It's not forever, but it incentivizes them here. The other part they have to do is the money they're going to save in that, they have to put into the thing we want. Chris, that could either be our own version of a pilot, but instead of a payment in lieu of tax, they're going to pay that amount they would have paid in utilities into some area or other need. So it's like a pilot in the same way. We uniquely can offer this in the city. This is a huge opportunity, which is why I put audited utility results, Mr. White, on the agenda. But the only way we can do that is to have a functioning and proper utility. And the idea that the council looks at the utility as all discussion of rate can mean is raising rates on people who are challenged to pay rates and people who have constraints is just not the case. There is a lot of ways in a rate reform by just changing how you structure rates. when people are in peak times versus non-peak. I want to elect rate B system, and I'm willing to wash clothes, do these things at this time. There's a whole bunch of things that we can build into a rate structure that do not have to hurt people. And there's just some changes to the way our blocks are done that just need to happen. So before you even get to just raising a rate, you need reform right now. You're living in a different time. I believe you guys have an obligation to do it under law. Louisiana doesn't make a distinction between nonfeasance, misfeasance, and malfeasance. We all do. We think a malfeasance is criminal. I guess misfeasance is doing it wrong. Nonfeasance is doing nothing at all. Our law says if you have a duty to do something, and you do, and you don't do it, it doesn't care which of those versions it is. You are required by law to look at your structures. This is not, I know how the media will report it, the mayor wants a rate hike. Never said and not saying it today. I'm asking you to look at your structure as it currently exists, and you're going to see that's not the way it should function. Because time changes that. But I will say also, you have an obligation as a council to study rates. That's not because of Jacques Roy, that's because your own ordinance says so. So does this. So I'm required to report those failures by state constitutional law, by state statute, and by the charter and ordinances of the council. You have an ordinance that requires me to do that. I'm reporting to you today officially as the council that you guys are in a spiral where you will not be able to afford to pay for future capital, and you will not be able to have the opportunities to do a RIF or these pilot type things that can help everybody. I'm also committed personally. I don't want to hurt people who are challenged by utilities. I don't know why people think a politician would. Who in the world would be helped not thinking that so many people are challenged by utilities today? But the idea of where we are compared to others means we can't even look at the structure is not smart. What I would commit to you is there are ways to figure out how to help people, and I've got quite a few. But it only comes with rate reform, and that doesn't have to start with rate hikes. It has to start with rate reorganization, and it has to start with looking at some of the rates that are just outlandishly out of the market. We don't consider sanitation in this, right? We look at all of our other ones, but sanitation has not been something we considered a utility. Right now, in sanitation, I took Miss McGill's bill. I won't say she moved, and she's not paying Alexandria anymore. So I said, can I see your bills? And I just want to look at all your bills because you're here and I can get them. And then I'm going to look at all the flat amounts, so not things that are governed by your usage. But right now in Alexandria, if you're in the city, your trash is picked up twice a week. It is not limited to throws. You could have 20 cans out there or one, and it's the same price. That's not normal, guys. Most places it's the throw. It's how many cans are there. We're unlimited. It doesn't stop there. We also pick up any amount of green waste on we hope, a 3-week cycle. Not always. You might put your stuff out the day they came, and it can be tough, but we hope that. We don't stop there. We also pick up any amount of white goods you put out, refrigerators, those kind of things. We don't stop there. We also pick up any other trash that's out there unless you're commercial. But we really don't stop there because when people complain enough, we go pick up the commercial stuff and try to charge the people after the fact, and they give us what to never pay it. But we do all that for a price so significantly less than any of our competitors who are one throw, 1 day a week, and all of the other stuff is charged. That's great that you're doing that. But what's not great is when you see your budget this year, Mr. Villard, and the loss in sanitation, and then you go, well, Mayor, you've been mayor this level. And then I'll show you all the years where I kept it flat and even. I'll show you exactly where it went wrong and why. And it just means at some point, you guys are going to have to get into the century we're in and figure out some things. people can't make any choice that they want and keep the price in the 80s. Think about that, Jerry. It's consumer based. It's your consumption that determines some things. In addition to this rate structure about everything, Jim, I would say there's a whole lot of education to give people and a whole lot of rates they could elect that we could really help people. There's also helping people get housing that they're not bleeding all those electrons straight out of every unsealed window, every door, and everything else because of substandard housing. There's a lot that we have to do. And my commitment is to be as innovative in this as anything else that I've ever done in my life. But we've got to have a partnership to get there. We've got to have an honest conversation about it. And if everybody's scared of the media just saying, oh, they're going to say you're raising rates, then you're not a leader. And you can't be in leadership. Because leadership works like this. Things are tough. You got to make tough decisions. You got to tell people the truth. You have to let people look under the hood and see the process by which you make a decision. And you got to let the people then decide what they want to do. But if you never let them even know, you never put it out front for them to see, you let a few people convince you can't talk about it, that's not leadership, and it's certainly not transparency. People will decide what's right if they get the information, but we got to get them the information. So the audited results of the utility are all moving in the right direction except for one thing. I have been told by our rating agency. Remember, I love when someone outside does it. I started out with that because that's not me selling anything to you. That's an outsider who doesn't care about, the folks in the room. They don't care who we are. They don't care about anything to do with us but one thing. Can you pay your bills in the future, and how are we going to rate your bond capacity? I will tell you that they credit this administration. Outsiders don't care, didn't like us coming in because they thought we were the same guys that they feel lied to them about the utility issue that was part of the breach, and it wasn't. We try to, look, that's not exactly what happened here. We don't care. You didn't report it to us. Not this administration, problem. Really mad about that. Took them a long time to get over it, still not over it. That's just to tell you they're not friends. We're not able to convince them, hey man, give us a shot. They do their diligence. They look at everything on the internet. They look at everything about your city, what people are saying, what social media says. That's all one set. The other set's just pure math, pure numbers. They looked at our decisions. They looked at our collection policies that made them fair to people and right again. They looked at all those things. And we got a stability back. They didn't consider it stable. When I left office before, we were in great shape. We had A's by our bond rating. We're a triple B plus now and stable. We were not stable before we made these decisions. But they also listed from our audited findings everything about what we had done right and what they're saying is going to take us back to non-stable and ultimately a junk bond rating, which means you're never borrowing again against this asset I'm trying to convince y'all to use, your utility. And that's if y'all don't at least review rate reform. Quit listening to naysayers who are just trying to divide you for no reason other than division. You are obligated by law and you're obligated by your independent rating agency to look at those structures. This isn't from me. This is from third parties. I can get Chris to come stand here, who's a nationally known expert, who's going to tell you, I can't even believe we're having this conversation. Is this real? Y'all have 1986 rates, and you don't think you have to at least look at how they're structured. I did adjust the electric rate one time since 1986. I did it. I lowered it in 2013, I think. Probably wasn't the best move because I lowered it because all the other ones were so loss leader that we were trying to show people, look, this is what it does to your household. Remember, we put up a board. This is how minute this will be for all of you at home. But if y'all don't let us show how this adjustment occurs, because it never makes the agenda, it doesn't do anything, you're going to lose the one asset that allows a 50,000 city to punch at the weight of a 75,000 population city in terms of our bricks and mortar ability, our capital project ability. And you guys wearing uniforms, that utility, all of that, that's what makes it all work for all of us. You should care as much as anybody about this. And I know the two of you in this room know that, because we've been having a lot of meetings about it for years, and y'all were independent guys and go look. But that utility is the most important economic development asset, hence why it's on my agenda today, that we have as a city. Other than the people themselves in this city, that's an asset we can use. You just got to make a hard decision. Do you want it or not? But all the stuff that it can make mistakes about that happen in utilities, those can happen. But is it functioning right? Now, I was asked about double billing. We just went through a full cycle of redoing everything in it to modernize how billing occurs, how people can pay bills, and all of that. In that cycle, that Hanson, I think is the name of the company, who's been with us for years, recommended, it wasn't a double bill. In February, 2 bills came where the payments are due too close in a month. I'm not happy about it. Because they'll look at the software and say, no, it did exactly what it's supposed to do. It's just a short count and that's happening. I'm like, no, that's not how people work here on fixed income. And they were told that, and I think they kind of pushed it anyway. So I have to decide, and I'm in the investigation. I know you are shocked because I'm going this deep in it, but sorry. But I have to decide, was that a human error that someone told it that was okay, or was that pure software? Y'all heard us report that we went through 2 tabletop exercises to make sure nothing went wrong. First time, bunch of glitches, so we didn't launch. Second time, clean. This is a little different. This could be a person made a decision that it was okay to do that because it didn't overcharge. I know Cornelius used double bill. No one's getting double billed. You're being billed only for your actual usage. It's that 2 bills came in a cycle that's too short. That can happen all the time. That was never our problem, Jim. Our problem was, when I came back, no bills came in any amount of cycles, so people would get 5 bills due at once. That's what was wrong when we put Restore in place, is too many bills. This is a lot better issue to have, and it should be a one-time thing because it's a glitch. But I have to determine in my investigation that started yesterday, is it a human error? And if so, it doesn't mean someone's fired or in trouble. It means, but why would you make that decision? Why would you not get to me that people need 1 bill on 1 cycle? So I said I was going to talk about it today. It's done. I did. We'll talk about it some more at the proper time. My point is the utility is something major for us. I need all of you to understand. Question me all you want. Dig in all you want. Go look at all of our audited statements. And then you'll conclude what you can only conclude when math drives the car. The utility is an opportunity. The utility is never a threat to the city. But if you're going to run the utility, you can't run it like you run the rest of the city, where you make political choices and do things. It's okay, but that's part of it. You have to run the utility like an investor-owned utility. We've done it in the past. It's got to stay being run that way. And that requires that you have a fiduciary duty to the utility. And that fiduciary duty requires that you charge a reasonable rate that is fair to all classes of ratepayers, that covers at least 3 things: the cost of the employees and the rolling stock needed to make it operate, the cost of future capital in a predictable way, and thirdly, and not the least importantly, some amount of rate that deals with the rainy day. It doesn't have to be a crazy, it's got to be something. And if your rate structure doesn't cover those things, that isn't proper. It means you're going to lose your utility. And I just have to tell you that according to our rating agency and according to the studies that Cure has done, independently, didn't weigh a day in on them until they came out. That's where you are. But I have ways to do it where it doesn't hurt. We just got to engage. So just because Cure may say you have to do this, that doesn't mean that we can't look at it and figure out different points to get somewhere that are different. You follow me? So your experts, David and all them, they're going to come in and tell you got to do X, Jim. I would come in and go, we can get to X a different way, let's do this. But you gotta get the rate studies, and you gotta read them and dig in. And then you got an opportunity for this utility to mean something. All right, I'll take questions from the council. I only got one member here today. You got any?
You talked about recreation and Masonic Corps. Anything planned for Bringhurst? Not Bringhurst Field, Bringhurst Golf Course.
I got a call from, I'm sure you put them up to it last weekend. Got a call from the Friends of Bringhurst last weekend. Wanting to know what is mine? What am I getting? Where is it? So, of course, but I would say that their needs, so whenever I talk to them, we get it in deep, it's always, we want this historic par 3 to kind of stay where it is. They don't want it to be, it's a special place. It's the oldest in the country. And we get a lot of requests like, let's light it up, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm stuck, Jim, because I have to weigh Chuck Fowler in my ear on it, what it should be. And everybody's got an idea of what that little course should be. So until the people of Alexandria tell me differently or y'all order something differently, I keep defaulting to it staying quaint and functioning like it does out of respect for it. It may sound strange. I would not give you nearly the same answer about the links. We should be pumping that thing up as economic development. We should be making that as great as we can all the time, invest in new stuff. I get that. But this one, I just think it sort of is what it is, and it shouldn't be a whole lot because it can't take a whole lot. So if you just had tons of people on it all the time, then it wouldn't be this special thing. I don't think it needs to be in Reignite proper because I think its needs are not at a level where we can't just do them all the time. Having said that, if you want to, it would be nothing to add a project to it. The big ones so far have been lighting it up for night play.
No.
Not a good idea.
No.
Been through it with them and they now agree that's not what they want. They have wanted some sort of clubhouse or other kind of thing there. I would tell you, again, there's a lot to think about whether that's what you really want at that spot right now. When the corridor is where we need it to be, with the SWAT building at one end and all those different pieces, I would probably have a different answer. But they've also asked about bathrooms and other stuff, and I always tell people, putting bathroom assets in parks, there are unforeseen consequences, or foreseen consequences to do that. You just have to think about it and be careful. And what are you trying to do there versus keeping it sort of how it is historically? I'm open to whatever y'all want to do.
When is, one more question, I understand where you're standing there. When is the SWAT team,
It's out. Where's the SWAT building now?
when is the new place meeting?
It's under design right now, for preparation.
Under design.
Specs.
So they're building a package now. It hasn't been put out at all, right? And is CSRS doing that, or did we? Yes.
And same way with the clinic?
Same with the clinic.
That's all connected.
It would be ultimately the clinic. It's not SWAT moving there. It's the training part where they would use that old part of the building that was soccer. You could, make it where they can train and conform it differently every day and do different things. But it also would put the CSOs in it, and so you'd have a nice security element to start off that corridor, which would help the whole corridor, help people feel better, help the park sort of clean up a little bit. We're mindful of our corporal acts of mercy, and we're mindful that parks are to be enjoyed. We're not trying to throw everybody out of the park who's there, but you got to act a certain way in the park so that everybody can enjoy the park, and I think it'll help that a little bit. Chris, did you have anything you might say?
No, sir, this has been very informative, Mayor. Thank you. Onward.
Onward, exactly. I think that I I made a lot more than I got a chance, and we're just running it's too long to get into it, but I really had a lot to talk about with that utility. I think I covered the generalities, but I want y'all to know my commitment is real about how we can work through this, but it's going to take some community work, and it takes community leaders and other people to weigh in. Everyone needs to watch out for income challenge in this, and it doesn't have to be harmful in that way. It has to be addressed, and I really could not stress that enough. You can do some things on commercial that alleviate that burden, Cornelius. There's a lot of ways to do this. But it's totally unfair to say, we're not going to talk about it because we know it's a trick and that's all y'all are trying to do. I'm not trying to do that. That doesn't help me politically, and it doesn't help me as a human being.
I don't say that.
I understand you don't, but it's an... I just figured out, that's the only reason you're the only one here. No, I was like, if they talk about the utility, I'm not going. There's a clear opportunity for public-private partnerships with our utility that we need to do. And there's a clear opportunity right now, and this will not always exist, ladies and gentlemen, but right now, our relationship with CLECO also allows a clear opportunity for partnering. Right now, won't always be. Wasn't always before, as we know, but right now, with the current leadership there are opportunities. And I think we need to take advantage of those, or some other decision needs to be made. But if y'all decide you're getting rid of it, first of all, the people have to vote. And second of all, make sure you tell them how much their bill's going up when they get off of Alexandria. Make sure you tell them the cost to change every light that gets added to their bill. Make sure you tell them they don't have a political body to decide rates anymore. Oh, you thought the Public Service Commission, is that what you were going to say? They can add any amount of fees and make sure you tell them. I got a bunch of CLECO customers that live in the city that are I have a bunch of CLECO employees who live in the city and are my customers. They don't mind our bills.
PSC requires a return.
Yes, yes. When you compare your CLECO bill to your Alexandria bill, you are comparing just your electric to our entire set of utilities. You have to carve out electric only. I say it, 20 times a year or more, and people still do it. It is so significantly lower. I brought all the graphs, but y'all aren't going to believe them anyway. You'll say it's made up, but we're the lowest almost all the time.
Yes, I have it right here. We're all lowest.
Okay, so anything else, Jim, about that? Do you think that there's any wherewithal that your council will at least look at this stuff?
I don't see why not.
Oh,
Need
that,
to. Well,
I don't feel like that was an
let me tell
answer.
you, if not, we may be taking over. The state may take over our utility.
Well, the state, okay, so I'm not trying to correct the councilman in here, but the state ain't gonna be interested in running what y'all won't run here. They're not gonna take it over. They're gonna tell you, they're gonna get rid of it for you or put it in receivership.
I mean, they're gonna take it.
Yeah, they're gonna do something, but what we can do with utility rate reform, help those most burdened with utilities by educating them on usage, optional rate plans if they comply with the usage plans, assistance with housing contributors to high costs, and other reforms. I've gone from my head, I'm reading it now to make sure I said it right. If in good utility practice, the utility can perform better and contribute to economic development directly through our rate increment financing and allow the city to incentivize designated industry to locate here for amortized performance-based utility structure that directly and indirectly measurably benefits our ratepayers. This is our unique opportunity. We need to take this opportunity. Here was June, July, August, and September. The orange bar is us. Not everybody can see it, but this room can. The orange bar is where we rated against our peer utilities, most of them in the state, most of the systems. We missed it in September by 1. And this is what's called the Northeast route, but this is just about every month. I had one couple this past weekend get it. I was saying it, and the wife said, "That's great that she believed it." She was like, "I'm there. I believe you. We're that low." And the husband said, "Honey, that's terrible That means you're so you can't be the last one. You want to be somewhere right in the third or whatever. And I thought, man, this guy should get a prize for this, but I didn't want to get in their marriage issue, so I didn't say a word. I don't want to circle our friends at Clico, but they're not where they're on the list. Okay. I appreciate everybody being here today. We can unpack a little more of this. I know we went a long time, but there's a lot to say about economic development, and there's a lot to say about where we stand. And there's even more to say about the opportunities that Chris and the team can bring, and Deborah, and all the hard work that's happening. But the one place you got to start is we all got to be on the same page. It's always an election every it's not a 4-year, it's a 2-year cycle for the city. Is always going to be something. That doesn't mean, as Deborah always says, you can't quit working during the periods of whatever. Like, you want to get it perfect, so we're not going to do anything at all. That's not going to work for us. We got to stay, at least with our non-elected folks, helping them get their jobs done and not divide ourselves against ourselves. And I think that that's a problem. And I hope that we'll start cheering a little more about our community. All right, anything else?
Can I ask?
Yes, Cornelius, you can ask.
Was this AI or was this a person that did the double billing? I'm just asking.
If you promise to not say double billing, because you know that's not what it is, I'm going to answer the question. Call it receiving 2 bills in too short a cycle.
Okay.
Okay. You agree that's what it is? You know,
I agree.
I'm kidding.
Go.
You don't have to agree. I can't make you do that. I thought I'd try. It was not AI.
Okay. That's a good thing anyway.
The programming that creates the decisions looks at the council ordinance and how many days you have from each end period, and it does some calculations. That's not, Excel could do that before, not AI.
Okay.
But a human being can override obvious things that don't work. And so my concern is that a human being saw the problem and didn't override it. That would be a concern to me. But my bigger concern would be that a human being didn't think that was a problem. Because it means that they're not in tune with how people pay their bills. It's not just fixed income, but any of us, that we pay our bills once a month and we believe in that. And so I would be concerned if a human being missed it. It doesn't mean they have to leave. It just means that I got some coaching to do, right? That a human being should have called it. Not only should not have let it happen, but should have thought, should I run this up 2 more rungs on the ladder? Should I be making this decision? That's how I would say it. Should I make this decision without asking someone above me? And the fact that that didn't happen means, with all the beauty of the new software, a human being still missed something that I'm not okay with as of today. Does that answer you?
Can I ask one more?
Yes, sir.
Simple question.
Yes, sir.
People are worried about being cut off. Ladies 70 years old come, and that's one of the main worries. Being cut off.
Do you have your statement?
Sure.
Mr. Caffrey, just go ahead and read the statement. We'll issue it. The answer is no. That we're not going to allow.
Thank you.
We have caught. We'll make sure of that. But go ahead and just read the
But
statement
thank
in the
you.
record.
That was the main thing, because a lot of these seniors, and I happen to be a senior citizen now, so they're just worried. They get paid once a month, the first or the third.
So Cornelius, we didn't want to create a worry that wasn't there yet, but we wanted to be prepared, and we know that you had said something last night. So you did your citizen work, and you're about to hear the answer.
This past December, we upgraded our customer information system, which among other things handles our utility billing system. We recently learned that about 7,500 customers received 2 bills with
about
due dates.
25,000 for electric. So
Yes.
we'll call that 25,000. That's 28%.
Yes. With due dates falling in the same month. February the 2nd and February the 24th of 2026. While both bills accurately reflect usage, we understand this schedule is unexpected and have already caused issues for those ratepayers. We have taken corrective action and we've addressed that aspect of it. For those people who were affected, and this is the important information, this is a one-time upgrade, and this should be a single occurrence following our December system upgrade, and we will monitor it closely. Secondly, no late fees. You will not incur any late fees or penalties as it relates to the second bill that was sent out to you for the month of February. There will be payment flexibility. We can extend the due date on the second bill upon request, and so that means those ratepayers would need to contact utility customer service and request that. And then, of course, the schedule will be restored in the month of March. So you will restore to a regular billing cycle in the month of March. With any resident that has questions about this, they should contact utility customer service. They have the information, and they can walk them through that particular process. Yes, sir.
So y'all going way behind the curtain on this one, but I'm gonna tell you, they showed me this and I made changes to it. I made it say this should be a single occurrence. I made it say, I added, we ran exercises to avoid hiccups over and over, and and now we're gonna determine the cause of this. There was I wanted you to have the 7,500 customers. I thought that would be the next question any good media would ask, is how many people were affected. And that I added, we'll continue to monitor it closely, because here's my concern. I did not find that the consultant, after hearing from the whole staff today, was still defending, like this is how the cycle works. So that's a disconnect. So all of this new technology to help us, I'm not okay with that. And that's as transparent as one can be. I'm telling you up front, your mayor was not okay with that. I'm not. I'm not okay if it's a human error. I am okay that someone makes an error, and I'm okay if they're saying, I'll fix it and it won't happen again. But I'm not okay with people defending that this is how it should be and this is how it's going to be next month, because then I have to wonder, what's wrong with you?
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Some of the people that did go by the utility office were treated kind of wrong, and I just wanted to let you know that. When they went by to try to get things straight, so I just wanted to let you know that.
I appreciate that, and I know that customer service is a thing that you always have to work on, and I'm not going to defend anybody that's treated wrongly. I'm not going to defend my employees if they treat people wrongly, but I will tell you this so everyone knows. In our utility, everything's a public record. I don't encourage people to ask. It's none of your business what people's bills are, but I understand that someone can make the argument. There's some legislation that was put in to change some of that so people can't do that to embarrass people. The other thing I would tell you is those conversations are recorded. And I will tell you that I have reviewed many times that people say they were treated wrongly, and upon review is the other way. It's the employees.
Are you talking about phone calls?
I'm talking about both, but that employees are really treated harshly by people who are in a tough time. Think about it. They're not going there because they're happy. They're going there because they're stressed out.
Yes, sir.
So we have to err on the side, as the customer service side, of understanding that people are in that moment, and we have to be the thicker skinned people to get that right. But I also will tell you, some people get that it can be very out of line how our employees are treated. It's a very stressful job to be in, and they make mistakes. And this is something that I'm going to be following up the next few days. And I hope you can tell by the time that we answered it. There's been a lot of questions by me personally today about it. I'm just not okay that it even happened because of the tabletops and that a human being. I just don't get that. But that is not a comment on your utility and the stuff, Chris, that I went over today about the scale of what it can do for us. That's a customer. It's not even the utility side. That's a customer service issue that we just internally have to handle. That's not a utility issue to me. All right, I'm done. Everybody good? Thank y'all so much for putting up with it. Thank you.